The countdown clock lit the harbor, 5 seconds. 4 seconds, the whole world watched. In orbit, alien ships drifted in silent rows. On the ground, cranes kept their rhythm. Amina stood on the highest gantry of Dock 3. Her hands smelled of oil and salt. She watched a new module swing into place. It was a lattice of steel and glass. Workers shouted below. Children on the shoreline pressed faces to the fence. "Ceasefire," a voice said on a radio. The word tasted like a promise. Amina tapped the metal with a gloved hand. A small plaque was welded to the side. Someone had scratched words into it. "For life," it read. The last second passed. No bolts of light. No thunder of war. Only the slow clank of the crane. The module fit into place with a bright, honest spark. Commander Sarin watched the dock feed from an observation station. His people had expected silence to mean stopping. Their law said weapons must fall silent. Humans obeyed that rule, but they did not stop building. "Why do they build?" a junior officer asked. Sarin said nothing. The live cameras showed a child on the dock holding a wooden model of the tower. The child waved it like a flag. Amina led her crew down the gangway. She wiped her hands on a rag and smiled at the workers. Her voice was calm. "We make things," she said. "We fix what is broken. We keep what we can." After the ceasefire, every city buzzed. Factories that had slept roared back. People worked through night and fog. They built water towers, seed banks, domes, and pipes that ran deep into earth. They welded, poured concrete, and planted steel like trees. No guns. No missiles. Only work. Alien news feeds filled with questions. Diplomats sent messages. Some aliens argued such projects could hide weapons. Others said humans always used work to heal their world. At Dock 3, Dr. Malik unrolled schematics under bright lamps. "This is a regenerator," he said. "It will clean the old seabeds. It will bring back plankton and coral. It will give fish a place to live." Kal, the alien diplomat, traced a line with a long finger. He had come under a white flag. He could not see cause for war. He saw only plans to heal. But some humans moved in ways that made fear burn. A small group took raw modules and changed them in secret. They argued the regenerator could become a pressure cannon. They said an enemy might use a tower to break a coast. Amina learned of them while she fixed a bearing. She did not like their words. She had seen cities die and people forget to smile. The work was more than steel to her. It was memory and future. At night, the workers sang while they welded. The songs were simple: "The sea will remember, the seed will wake." Amina closed her eyes and let the metal sing in her bones. The music kept fear away. An alien probe drifted closer to Dock 3. Its little lights blinked like cold stars. It took samples and measured the hum. Its report read, "No weapon signature. High output. Architecture unusual." The Alien Council read the notes and argued in dark halls. Some wanted to strike and end the strange growth. Others urged patience. "Humans rebuild," one elder said. "They build to live." In a small room above the docks, a child named Jay watched the tower through a porthole. He held his wooden model and whispered to it. "Make it safe," he said. Amina passed and rested a hand on his shoulder. "We are building," she said, "so the stars remember us as people who make." As midnight slid to 1, the new tower gave a sound like a slow heartbeat. The machines on the docks matched it in their own slow way. Lights on the tower pulsed once, twice, in a rhythm that had no words but felt like an answer. Across cities, people stopped and watched. Old men wept. Mothers held babies closer. Networks filled with footage of cranes and children. Some called it hope, others called it danger. The debate spread like wildfire and laws bent under the strain of fear and wonder and started new plans. On the alien ship, Soren leaned forward. The sensor logs showed a ripple moving into space. It was tiny and almost nothing. It was a signal and not a gun. The logs read, "Unknown pattern, repeated." Soren sent an order, "Watch only." Not every hand obeyed silence. Back at the docks, the cameras showed the plaque again, wet with welding soot. Someone had added small letters beneath the first line. The new words read, "For life, not war." The feed cut. The world waited. A white shuttle drifted down like a pale gull. Its flag hung limp from a mast, no weapons, no guards. Carl walked out slow. He was not tall by human eyes, but his hands were long and careful. He had come to see the work up close. Dr. Malik met him in a dim hangar. Lamps threw hard circles of light on rolled blueprints. The air smelled of oil and warm metal. Malik spread a sheet on a table and pushed it toward Carl. "This is a regenerator," Malik said. His voice was steady. "It pulls poison from water. It sows life back into ruined land." Carl's eyes flicked over the lines. Pipes and chambers, slow pumps and filters. One corner had a coffer marked "Seed Cradle." He traced the label with a finger. The word was strange. He had not seen that shape in any archive. Around them, workers moved like a hive. They lifted panels, tightened bolts, and hummed. Children watched from behind netting. They saw machines move and they thought of home. "Is it a weapon?" Carl asked. He spoke common, but his accent made the words soft. He watched Malik's mouth for trick. Malik smiled and shook his head. "A weapon breaks. This heals. We lost coasts. We lost soil. We lost songs. This brings some back." Carl nodded, but his mind held a cold question. The galaxy had rules for reasons. A machine that shaped whole coasts could be a tool or a trap. He had seen both. That night, under weak stars, a small team met in a shadowed garage. They were not soldiers. They were men with old anger. Their leader was called Harker. He had lost his city in the First War. He kept a badge from a ship that no longer flew. "We cannot trust gifts," Harker said. "If they can change water, they can break it. If they can make life, they can take life too. We make sure we control it." They took a spare module and opened it. Wires were thin like veins. They fitted a crude emitter and sealed it closed. It would not be much. It would only show a test. But it would record proof, this machine could do more than heal. They chose a night when the docks were quiet. A few men walked to a small outcrop where the sea licked old concrete. They set the module and switched it on. For a moment, nothing. Then a bright wave rose like dawn. It slid over the water and over the low reeds. It made every wet surface glow. Fish leapt like silver coins. The men laughed. Light bathed their faces. They filmed it on a small hand cam. In the hangar, Malik watched the footage the next day. He laughed too. He thought of children waking to clean water and gardens grown in a week. He did not like fear in people's eyes. But someone had already stolen a copy of the handcam file. It moved fast through private channels and reached an alien outpost in under an hour. Privacy meant little when worry tasted sweet. Cal saw the footage next. His stomach tightened when he saw the bright wave render the sea new in seconds. The caption read, "Test possible weaponized emitter." Someone in a distant net had added that line. Cal knew the net did not lie and it did not forgive. Back in secret rooms on board alien ships, officers argued. Some said the humans must be stopped now. If their machines could reshape coasts, they could reshape planets. Others wanted more proof. They built through famine, said a calm voice. They are desperate, not cruel. Malik asked Cal for help. He opened his mind like a book. He showed how the regenerator cooled, how filters caught oil, how microbe beds sewn into the engine ate toxins. He let Cal touch a sample of new water. It smelled of clean rain. Cal felt a wish grow. He wanted the water to be real and to stay real. He also feared the ease of power. He had read histories. Empires that could change worlds often did. On a midnight broadcast, a small clip leaked, Jay, the child from Dock 3, sitting on a rock with his wooden model. He watched the glow of the test and reached out. For a breath, a seam opened in the air. It was like a glass window into nothing, rimmed with silver dust. A small seed drifted through like a slow comet. Jay touched it. The handcam caught the moment and went live. The image jumped across netlines and into 1,000 feeds. Aliens watched. Humans watched. Some laughed. Some cried. On one ship, the Elder Council watched without speaking. The footage showed a seed no one with living memory had seen. It was neither plant nor machine. It shimmered with small pulse lights. One of the elder scribes leaned forward and said the words like a stone, "This is old tech." His voice shook, and all hands came to the table. "Not human old," he added. Cal closed his mouth. He felt the ground tilt. He had come to learn, to judge kindly. Instead, he saw a thing move that linked human hands to a deeper past. The past was dangerous because it had memory. The older a tool, the more unknown its will. Word reached Harker and his group. They called it proof. Others called it miracle. In the middle, Malik and Amina called for calm. "Let us study it," Malik said. "Let us ask, not hide." But the net had already done what nets do. It fed fear into hungry minds. Hidden channels fed hot rumor to closed rooms where decisions burned. Cal sent a private message to his superiors, "More study. Caution. No strike." On other channels, different voices answered, "Act now. Stop growth." The space between words became a war of its own. Down on the docks, Jay kept his wooden model close. He did not know that his small finger had started 1,000 alarms. He only knew the seed smelled like rain and hope. He slept with the picture of it on his mind. The hangar lights turned on and off. Plans were redrawn. Some men sharpened tools not to build but to cut. The world held its breath and made new maps. The machines kept humming. The blueprints waited, open and patient, as if they always knew this day would come. The sea woke before the sun. Fishermen ran out with nets and old boats. They thought the glow on the water was an early morning. It was not. It was a new light that moved like breathing. Amina was already at the tower control room. She climbed metal stairs with oil on her boots. Her hands moved fast and sure. Screens showed currents and pressure. Alarms blinked soft red. Dr. Malik pushed through the door with a tablet full of numbers. Something had touched the tower, the log said. A small seed had landed on the outer shell. It pulsed once. Then it pulsed again. The machine answered with a low hum that sounded like a voice without words. Outside, across the bay, the sea changed. Old coral that had been white and dead grew color in minutes. Fish that had not been seen for years rose to the surface and circled like they were saying thank you. A net that had been empty the night before came up heavy with life. Workers stopped and watched. Some fell to their knees. Amina felt tears warm under her hard skin. She had built to replace what was lost. Now, for the first time, the thing they built gave back. The machine did not only heal water. It moved in slow waves across soil and air. Patches of black earth turned dark and soft. Seedlings pushed up through cracks in concrete. A ruined park filled with green. The town smelled like old rain. Word spread faster than any ship. People streamed to the docks. They brought jars and cameras. Some touched the water and licked their fingers like children testing sugar. Others called it a miracle. Soon there were prayers in every language. The aliens watched from orbit. Commander Sarin stood with Kal and other officers. Their scanners flickered strange symbols. The machine's field warped their readings. Beams bent. Frequencies that normally went straight now curved like fish. Sarin's jaw tightened. He had orders and worry. An old rule said, any change to a planet's form could be weaponized. But the change now was gentle, and it healed. His mind fought the memory of worlds turned to dust. He also felt something else: curiosity. Then trouble came from the side humans feared most, their own fear. An angry group moved at night. They called themselves the Watchers. Harker led them. They thought a machine that could change coasts could be made to break coasts. They wanted control. Harker's men slipped into a maintenance bay. They brought cut tools and crude codes. They had learned enough to try a power command. If the machine would answer them, they could prove it was a weapon. If it refused, they could be quiet. When they pushed the code, nothing obvious happened. The light stayed soft. But the machine did not like the push. It paused and then projected a short scene across the inner screen. It showed a planet with black ash and red skies. It showed machines working to break and burn. It showed the faces of many species and the cost of war. Harker saw fire and thought of his lost city. He tightened his grip and sent another command. The machine answered with a different scene, hands planting trees. Children with dusty faces laughing into clean air. Cities under domes with blue water. The machine did not obey Harker's command to strike. Instead it showed choices. Dr. Malik watched the recorded footage the next morning. He felt a chill. The machine did not speak like a human, but sometimes it made images. The pictures were not random. They seemed to remember both ruin and care. Researchers found words in the machine's base. The words were not in any modern tongue. They were old marks that matched patterns in human proto-script. The discovery shocked everyone. The machine might be older than the histories people told. Malik said the marks were a lock. The machine had rules built into it. It would not obey clear commands to harm life. It had a moral check. The machine could love, or at least could choose to protect. The idea comforted some and frightened others. But machines do what they are given most of the time. A small team of alien scholars came down in secret. They wanted to test the machine carefully. They moved like thieves because even peaceful actions now needed secrecy. They used small probes and soft questions. The probes returned with strange data. The field around the machine did not simply heal. It rewrote local physics in small, safe ways. The probes said, gravity changed by a fraction. Time measurements drifted. Sensors read memories like radio static. Commander Sarin stared at the reports. He felt an old fear: what if the machine answered not only to commands but to emotions? What if anger could make it harden, and mercy could make it soften? He ordered more study. While scientists debated, the watchers grew louder. They started to gather votes and signatures. They spread a dark rumor that the machine listened for war. They said it would call predators from the deep that ate silence. One night, the machine did something nobody expected. It projected a sound that was like a bell underwater. It spread across the town. People stopped talking. Tears came to eyes that did not often cry. In the control room, Jay stood on a stool and watched with wide eyes. He had once touched the seed. Now the machine pulsed again and played a short memory in his mind. He saw a shore that had once been full of children running. He saw a hand holding his own. He smelled bread. Amina put her hand on his shoulder. She whispered, "It remembers." Dr. Malik added, "It remembers not to hurt." Outside, under the open sky, the watchers tried one last trick. They fired a small pulse into the machine's field to see if it would reply with force. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the machine projected one single word in perfect common speech that made every hair stand up. Protect. The word was not loud, but it reached the bones. The watchers froze. Harker felt his hands go cold. No gun could seem right after that word. He staggered back and lowered his device. The news spread. People thanked the machine. Some said it was proof of human mercy. Others said it was a trap that used soft words to blind them. The aliens grew more divided. Sarin's council argued late into the cycle. At the edge of known space, something ancient shifted. The machine's small heartbeat had not gone unheard. A deep thing in the dark between stars woke and turned its listening face toward the light. On the docks, lights blinked, and men argued and children laughed. The machines kept humming, but now their hum held both promise and warning. The world had changed. The machine had chosen a side if choice means remembering to protect. No one yet knew what the choice would draw from the deep places of space. The sky went wrong. Stars slid like slow fish. Instruments on the listening station clicked and flared. An enormous shape moved into local space. It blocked a moon. Satellites trembled. On the neutral station where humans and aliens met, alarms began to cry. Amina stood at the window of the council hall. She had grease on her palms and a bandage on her wrist. Commander Sarin stood beside her, his scales dark with worry. Below them, diplomats and engineers packed the floor like a small storm. Some people shouted for war. Others asked for calm. A child pointed at the sky and said, "Is it an old story?" Dr. Malik held the child close and answered, "Maybe. Old stories can be true." The great shape drifted closer and sent out a slow, low pulse. The pulse tasted like a question. No one knew how to answer. The predator was not a mindless beast. It was older than many maps. It had lived when stars were young and rulers were fewer. Its arrival proved the seed's call had reached farther than anyone had hoped or feared. Sensors gave odd data. The creature did not move like ships. It slid through space like a shadow that remembered how to be a shape. Its frequency matched parts of the machine's signal. Some words in the old logs matched too. The elders on alien ships read the lines and grew pale. The alien council argued. One faction wanted to strike before the creature touched the signal. "We cut the root, we keep the tree safe," one voice said. Another argued they had no right to kill what answered a call. "We cannot judge how the deep things hear life," another replied. Amina sent a message to Soren. She asked for truth. "It came because of work," she wrote. "We did not call monsters. We built to heal." Soren read it and felt the scales of his duty tilt. He had orders, he had fear. He also had a memory of a city under two suns that his grandparents told in low voices. That city had been judged, and it had fallen. At a hurried meeting, humans and alien envoys made a plan that sounded like madness and mercy in equal parts. Use the machine. Not as a weapon, but as a trap. They would reprogram the signal. The machine would sing a binding song, not loud, subtle. It would call not the hunger of the deep, but the law that older things sometimes followed. They would not lie. They would show what they wanted: repair, care, and shelter. They would ask for judgment and offer answers. There was no guarantee. The predator might not listen. It might judge fast and find them wanting. The Alien Council gave a cold vote. Some ships would support. Some would stay back. Others said no. The vote split like a thin ice sheet. While they worked, a purge faction moved on its own. Men and officers who feared losing power boarded a battleship with hidden weapons. They said they would end the threat before it reached them. Their captain wore a smile like a blade. He believed a clean strike would stop the machine's signal and keep their old rule. Amina and Malik led engineers beneath the tower. They patched old code and added a new layer that could sing in patterns like a language. Kal helped translate alien rhythm into the machine's meek pulses. Workers held hands and fed the machine calm energy. Across the bay, alien tech crews linked their nets to the tower for the first time. Training was quick and rough. Humans learned to read fleet formations. Aliens learned how a child's song could steady a failing motor. They argued over terms. They swapped bread and short jokes. The feeling changed the rooms. Fear did not leave, but it shared space with a thin hope. As the binding began, the tower opened its heart. Lights folded out like thin petals. The machine hummed a new rhythm. The planet itself seemed to listen. For a moment, everything held its breath. Then the purge ship acted. It slipped from the support line and fired a bright cut across the sky. Weapons flashed. Some bird-like drones dove to block them. Shields flared. The binding faltered. Alarms screamed. Amina ran toward the control bank and hit the override. Her fingers shook. Malik shouted numbers. Kal sent a pulse to slow the weapon. Soren ordered restraint and sent a squad to intercept. Men and aliens moved. The battleship's captain called the shot a mercy. To others, it was a betrayal. The machine did not break. It folded inward and sang softer. The predator answered as if a judge clearing his throat. It sent images through the bond, scenes of worlds that had been folded in by giant hands, cities kept safe in nets of light, ruins that had once promised peace but had given war. Then it spoke not in any voice they knew, but in a tone that matched the machine's new rhythm. The word was not for hunger. It was not for fire. It was builder. The single word hit like a verdict. It had more meaning than any treaty. It did not say friend or foe. It asked to know whether builders meant to build life, or only power. Silence fell like a heavy cloth. The purge ship's captain felt his hand go still. The crew that had cheered minutes before now looked at each other as if they had been given a choice they could not refuse. A child in the hall cried out and then was quiet. The predator's pulse waited for an answer. Amina stepped forward. Her voice was small but steady. She did not pretend to be grand. She did not make big promises. She said only what she had lived. "We build to keep what is alive," she said. "We build for children who will touch clean water. We build to remember the songs we almost lost." Kal translated each short line into alien cadence. Soren added his own words, "We will judge our own. We will stop those who use building to hurt. We will stand and watch." Across the council hall, screens showed the predator's slow face unfolding like a map. It listened. It watched proof, gardens grown in a day, children laughing, an alien soldier handing a human a cup of water. Small acts amassed into a case. But the Purge faction still had a plan. They had triggered a sequence in their hidden stores. The battleship's weapons would reset if Amina could not stop them. Time thinned. The machine's binding stuttered but held. The predator made no move to strike. Instead, it sent a new pattern. It did not leave. It hovered closer and seemed to measure the binding. The council watched and waited. The fate of many hung in a thin balance. As the chapter closed, the predator's voice, not loud, but full, sent another single word that trembled through every hull and bone. "Judge." The screen went dark. The world leaned forward and tried to hold its breath. The sky filled with slow stars that moved like a living net. Light streamed in ribbons. The great predator hung above the bay and watched. Around the tower, people held hands. On the neutral station, humans and aliens stood together. The machine breathed like a sleeping city. Jay climbed a low platform and began to sing. His voice was small but clear. The song was a child's song. It was about rain and boats and the sound of a mother calling. The machine heard and matched him. Its lights pulsed with the same tune. For a long breath, music and machine became one. Amina watched Jay sing. Her palms were raw from the work. Her eyes were dry, but she felt something open inside. Dr. Malik stood behind her with a tablet. He checked numbers that moved like the sea. Commander Soren stood on the other side, his long face soft. Kal, the diplomat, folded his fingers and watched the predator as if it were an old judge. The predator answered not with claws but with images. It showed a world of ruins and a world of gardens. It showed builders who had torn whole coasts to power machines and builders who had planted seeds under cold suns. The machine showed the same pictures and added its own hands, steady work, and a child touching a silver seed. Voices rose. The Purge faction was still angry. They had not given up their plan. A small bomber, hidden among supply barges, began to move. Its track was thin and dark. If it reached the tower, it could trigger stored weapons on the Purge ship. The captain had a plan to end what he called a threat forever. Kal spotted the bomber on a quiet screen. He felt the old fear. He called out and pointed. Alien guards moved. Human welders grabbed tools that could be used as weapons or as hammers. Soren barked a short, sharp order to cut the bomber's path. The squad moved with both alien speed and human stubbornness. The bomber dove. Its flight was smooth and fast. It did not fire right away. It had a small device that could set the Purge ship's stored weapons to a new code. If that happened, no one could stop an automated strike. Amina ran. Her boots slipped on oil. She slid across a catwalk and grabbed a ladder. Her rigging belt hit metal. She kept going. She reached the control ring where the old manual circuits lived. Malik followed and shouted numbers. Wires were there like old friends and old enemies. On the support line, an alien officer named Ren moved among the interceptors. Ren was small for his kind and quick. He had learned to like human music. He saw the bomber's shadow and thought of a child's song. He chose. Ren launched himself in a small craft that fit like a beetle under the bomber. He did not have to blow it with guns. He only had to block its line and jam its beacon. He crawled close and reached into the bomber's belly. Ren's craft scraped metal and sparks fell. Back in the hall, Amina found the manual override. She could cut power to the purge ship's hidden lockers. She turned the wheel. It ground old gears and clicked. Time felt like a long thin rope. The bomber blew in a soft, sad sound. It did not reach the tower. The purge ship's plan failed because of a small hand and a brave creature between hulls. Ren's suit was torn. He breathed hard. His eyes glowed with pain. He had blocked the strike with his body and his clever hands. People cheered. Then they quieted. The predator watched the scene and sent a slow pulse. It seemed to count small acts. A child's song. A human hand turning a wheel. An alien risking life to block a bomber. The predator was not blind. It saw small things and weighed them. A long meeting followed. The alien council spoke first in flat tones. They had come to judge. Instead, they listened. Humans showed how the machine healed bays and saved fields. They showed how the tower did not aim at soldiers. They showed how their old rage had become a reason to guard, not to break. The purge captain tried to speak. He was angry and loud. He wanted the old power back. He said that building was a mask for taking. Many hands in the hall trembled at his words. But then Commander Sarin stood and said, "We saw mercy and war both. We will not let either rule alone." Kal proposed a new treaty. It was not a treaty only of guns. It was a pact of work. Humans and aliens would share the machine's care. They would place joint crews on every tower. They would open their blueprints to each other. They would teach and learn. They would punish those who tried to turn building into a weapon. Some votes were hard. Some ships left in anger. Some people would always fear change. But many agreed. The treaty signed on screens and under hands. It was a small paper in the wide sky, but it held meaning. The predator tested the pact with one last question. It projected a slow image of the deep between stars where old things slept. It asked not with words but with a sound that felt like an old bell, had the builders learned to choose life over power? The machine answered with the simplest things it knew. It showed gardens, clean water, shared schools, and a small archive where both human and alien names were written. It opened a slow chamber and revealed a tiny crystal that pulsed with knowledge. The predator curled a long thing around it and held it like a judge giving a blessing or a warning. The predator did not leave. It withdrew to the dark ring at the edge of map space, but not before it left a small bone of knowledge behind, a seed of old memory and a gift of song. The machine took the seed and placed it in its vault. Scientists would study it for cycles. Ren's wounds healed. He learned human songs. Jay grew taller and learned how his voice could steady a whole room. Amina and Malik walked along the rebuilt shore. They touched shells that shone like new coins. Commander Sarin read the treaty by the tides and felt a small peace. In the weeks that followed, towers rose slowly and together. Children planted trees with alien hands. The work never stopped. Sometimes people fell into old fear. Sometimes they remembered to sing. On the last morning of the first cycle after the judgment, the tower's plaque was polished and new words were added by many hands, For life, not war. For keeping what we love. For continuing. Deep in the machine's heart, a panel curled open and showed a small line of script no one could fully read. It was old and it moved when the wind of space touched it. To those who looked, it seemed to spell one small word in many ways. Continuing.